Part 1. The CEO's Bold Plan. Elijah Bennett, a highly successful Black CEO of a prominent tech company, is known for his ambition and innovative vision. But recently, he's sensed a growing disconnect with his employees. The company is flourishing, yet he can't shake the feeling that there's more happening below the surface that he can't see from his office. Determined to gain an authentic perspective, Elijah decides to go undercover as a janitor, stripping away his title and privileges to walk in the shoes of his company's unsung heroes. Over the next week, Elijah adopts a modest appearance with work clothes, a cap, and glasses, and takes on the alias Eli Watson. Despite his high status, Elijah is nervous yet excited for this transformative experience. His first night on the job, he's assigned to the evening cleaning shift, which begins long after the hustle of the daytime has quieted down. As he moves through the empty halls with his cleaning supplies, he experiences the company from an entirely new perspective, beginning to interact with the night shift employees, many of whom have never met him. Part 2. A Humbling Start. As Elijah, now Eli, adjusts to the rhythms of cleaning, he realizes just how physically demanding the job can be. His back aches, and his hands grow calloused from scrubbing floors and emptying trash cans. With each passing day, he begins to appreciate the often overlooked efforts of the janitorial staff, realizing they perform their work with quiet dignity and rarely receive acknowledgement. Eli strikes up conversations with his fellow janitors during their short breaks, hearing stories of struggle, resilience, and perseverance. One evening, while cleaning the break room, he overhears a couple of employees discussing their grievances. They talk about how they feel overlooked, underappreciated, and disconnected from the upper management who they believe don't care about their well-being. Eli listens quietly, feeling a pang of guilt as he realizes that his employees are genuinely hurting. He hadn't imagined the extent of their frustrations, and it starts to weigh on him. From these small moments, he begins to uncover what his polished office walls had hidden from him: the struggles and stories of the people who help build the company every day. Part 3. The Stories Beneath the Surface. Eli settles into his janitorial role over the following days, immersing himself deeper into the lives of the employees who work tirelessly to keep the company running. Each night, he cleans the office spaces, tidies up conference rooms, and mops the sprawling hallways. Along the way, he becomes invisible, blending into the background, and it's in this newfound anonymity that he uncovers a raw, unfiltered perspective of his own company. As he makes his rounds, Eli meets Doris, a seasoned janitor who's been with the company for over 15 years. She's in her 60s with silver hair and a warm smile, and despite her age, she works with remarkable dedication. One evening, while taking out the trash, Doris tells him how much she relies on this job to pay for her grandson's education. "I just want him to have a future, you know? Something better than what I had," she says, eyes glistening with hope and pride. Eli listens, nodding, moved by her resilience. Doris's story sticks with him as he continues his work, reflecting on the countless sacrifices people make daily. Then there's Manny, a younger janitor, who works 2 jobs to support his family back in the Dominican Republic. Manny has a playful demeanor and a knack for cracking jokes, but underneath his smile lies a deep weariness. "Sometimes, man, I barely sleep, but when I see my little sister's face on video calls, it's worth it. She's going to college because of this," Manny shares one night, his voice tinged with exhaustion. Eli feels his heart sink, realizing that Manny's dreams are built on the back of tireless hours and bone-deep fatigue. Through these interactions, Eli begins to see his employees not just as workers, but as individuals with rich lives, struggles, and dreams of their own. He becomes more acutely aware of the company's flaws: the lack of health benefits, the lack of recognition for the unseen workers, and the missed opportunities to support the people who form the backbone of his business. Part 4. Facing the Hidden Realities. Over the next few weeks, Eli's encounters with the night crew start to paint a vivid picture of the people who work for his company and the sacrifices they make. He comes to understand that his employees aren't just nameless, faceless staff. They're real people, each with their own unique struggles, dreams, and stories. This newfound perspective fills him with a mixture of guilt and determination. One night, while cleaning a break room, Eli overhears a conversation between two younger employees, Lisa and James. They're whispering, talking in hushed tones about the layoff rumors that have been circulating. My dad's company downsized last year, and it nearly broke our family, Lisa says, her voice wavering. If I lose this job, I don't know what I'll do. I've barely got enough savings to cover rent next month. Eli's stomach tightens. He remembers the meeting he had with the board earlier that year, where they had casually discussed right-sizing the workforce without considering the lives impacted. Hearing Lisa's story, he realizes that these cuts aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're real people with hopes, fears, and families. Later that night, Eli crosses paths with Javier, the night shift security guard. Over cups of coffee, Javier shares his struggles of working a second job as a mechanic during the day just to make ends meet. I barely see my kids anymore, he says, rubbing his tired eyes. They're growing up, and I feel like I'm missing everything. I work so hard so they won't have to, but some days I wonder if it's worth it. Listening to Javier's story, Eli feels a pang of shame. He thinks about the bonuses and incentives he had signed off on for the upper management, the expensive dinners, the lavish office spaces, all things that seemed essential at the time, but now feel hollow in the face of Javier's sacrifices. As the weeks go by, Eli continues to witness the unfiltered struggles of his employees. He sees how some of them work through illnesses because they can't afford to take unpaid sick days, and how others skip meals to send money back to their families. The more he learns, the more he realizes just how disconnected he's been from the people who are the lifeblood of his company. Driven by a growing sense of responsibility, Eli resolves to make changes. He begins taking notes, jotting down ideas for better employee benefits, creating a fund for emergency aid, and considering ways to offer educational opportunities for the employees and their families. But he knows that to truly understand what his employees need, he'll have to face the board and challenge the status quo. Eli's journey as a janitor may be coming to an end, but the impact it's had on him is just beginning. He's no longer the detached CEO who views his company from a high-rise office. He's now a man determined to make a difference in the lives of the people he's come to know and respect. Part 5. The transformation begins with a clear mission. Eli returns to his CEO role, but this time with a changed heart. He knows his employees as people now, not just names in the payroll system, and he's determined to bring meaningful changes to the company. As he prepares for the upcoming board meeting, he reviews the plans he sketched out over his weeks working undercover. The day of the board meeting arrives. Eli takes a deep breath before he enters the room, the weight of his new mission pressing heavily on his shoulders. As the meeting begins, he doesn't hold back. He recounts what he's witnessed firsthand, describing the sacrifices, struggles, and dedication of the night shift workers. He tells stories of Lisa's fear of layoffs, Javier's sleepless double shifts, and countless others who make the company run. At first, the board members look bewildered, even skeptical. One of them, Greg, raises an eyebrow. Eli, this all sounds very noble, but we're running a business here. We can't just throw money at every problem. Eli meets his gaze firmly. I'm not talking about throwing money away, Greg. I'm talking about reinvesting in the people who make our success possible. I spent weeks working as a janitor, getting to know our employees in ways I never had before. These people are more than cogs in a machine. They're what keep this company alive. The boardroom falls silent. Eli's words hang heavy in the air as he continues, outlining his vision for increased benefits, improved working conditions, and a program to support employees' families. He proposes establishing an emergency assistance fund for employees facing hardships and a mentorship program to help workers develop skills and grow within the company. Javier, the warehouse worker who had often worked double shifts, takes part in the mentorship program. He's partnered with a senior logistics manager who helps him refine his skills and work towards a supervisory position. Javier is skeptical at first, unsure if this program is just a passing trend, but over time, he starts to see real potential for his future. He puts in the extra effort, buoyed by the encouragement and guidance he receives. The mentorship sparks a newfound drive within him. Seeing these transformations, Eli feels more connected to the purpose of his company than ever before. The employee's renewed motivation becomes contagious. Slowly but surely, productivity improves and employees start to take more pride in their work, knowing they're no longer seen as just numbers in the system. Part 7. Unforeseen challenges. As the changes ripple through the company, Eli faces new challenges. Not everyone embraces his vision, and some managers find it difficult to adjust. They've spent years operating under a different mindset, focused solely on maximizing profits and pushing employees to their limits. To them, Eli's new policies seem idealistic and impractical. At a board meeting, several senior executives expressed their concerns. They argue that the Emergency Assistance Fund and mentorship programs are draining resources and that the company's focus on personal well-being detracts from productivity. One of the executives, Mr. Bradley, speaks up. He's been with the company for decades and has always taken pride in maintaining strict discipline. This company became successful because we ran a tight ship, Bradley says, addressing Eli directly. We can't afford to start coddling people. It's a slippery slope. Eli listens patiently, understanding their perspective, but refusing to waver. He explains that the changes aren't about coddling. They're about fostering loyalty, building a stronger team, and ensuring long-term success. He presents data from the pilot programs, showing improvements in employee retention and a noticeable boost in morale. But Bradley remains unconvinced. Morale doesn't pay the bills, he counters. We need to think about the bottom line. Eli knows he's facing an uphill battle. He realizes that his role as CEO isn't just about making decisions. It's about leading by example and inspiring others to believe in his vision. He decides to host a company-wide meeting, inviting employees to share their stories and discuss how the new policies have impacted their lives. He wants the executives to hear firsthand what he discovered as a janitor, hoping it will bridge the gap between management and the workforce. Part 8. Voices of Change. The day of the company-wide meeting arrives and anticipation buzzes throughout the building. Hundreds of employees, from janitors and cafeteria staff to engineers and managers, fill the conference hall. For the first time, the executives sit among them, not in a separate boardroom, but shoulder to shoulder with the people who keep the company running every day. Eli steps onto the stage, taking a moment to look out over the audience. He can see faces filled with curiosity, hope, and even a little skepticism. Today isn't about him. It's about giving his employees the platform to share their experiences and speak their truths. He starts the meeting by recounting his journey as an undercover janitor. As he speaks, a hush falls over the room. He describes moments of loneliness, exhaustion, and resilience, moments that most of them know all too well. He tells them about working with Carmen, the janitor who taught him about humility, and about Rob, the overworked technician whose dedication to his family motivated Eli to make changes. Then he opens the floor, inviting anyone who wants to speak to share their stories. Carmen is the first to step forward. She walks to the front, holding her head high. I've been here for over 15 years, she begins, her voice steady but emotional. I've seen a lot of CEOs come and go, but I've never seen one who truly understands what we go through. She talks about how the new policies have allowed her to afford better health care and given her the time to attend her daughter's school events. For the first time, I feel seen. I feel like I matter. As she finishes, the room erupts into applause. Carmen glances at Eli, her eyes filled with gratitude. She's followed by others, single parents, caregivers, and young professionals, each with a unique story about how the changes have impacted their lives. One employee talks about how the mentorship program helped him develop skills that allowed him to move into a higher-paying role. Another describes how the emergency fund helped her family through a difficult time when her husband was laid off. As more employees speak, Eli notices the executives shifting in their seats. Some nod in agreement, while others look introspective. Bradley, who had been skeptical about the changes, seems particularly moved by a story shared by a young woman named Lila. She tells of growing up in a tough neighborhood and working her way through college, only to feel undervalued and overlooked in her job. This company was just a paycheck for me, she says, but now it feels like a place where I can grow, a place where I'm finally respected. Eli watches as Bradley's expression softens. He realizes that while data and reports are essential, nothing compares to hearing these personal stories. The executives are seeing firsthand the ripple effects of treating employees with compassion and respect, and it's making a difference. Part 9. A commitment to change. As the last of the employee stories conclude, Eli stands and looks out at the room. He sees Carmen, Rob, Lila, and hundreds of others who have trusted him enough to share their lives, their struggles, and their dreams. Today has confirmed what he had already begun to understand. Each one of them is the heart of the company. The executives are moved, but Eli knows that there are still barriers to break down. He knows that lasting change will require more than a few programs and policy updates. It will require a shift in mindset and a commitment from everyone at the top. He begins, "Listening to all of you today has been one of the most powerful experiences of my life. What you've shared here goes beyond the walls of this building. It's about what kind of world we want to build together. We can't undo the past, but we can shape the future together." Eli gestures towards Bradley, who is watching intently. "This journey has taught me that leadership isn't about titles or offices. It's about service. It's about being willing to get down in the trenches and understand what life is really like for each and every person who keeps this company moving forward." Bradley, perhaps surprised, stands and addresses the crowd. "I came into this meeting with a different perspective," he begins. "I used to think these kinds of changes were unnecessary, excessive even, but today I've realized that I was wrong. Listening to your stories, I've seen what I was blind to before. I promise to be a better advocate for all of you. I'll work alongside Eli and the rest of the team to ensure that we continue moving forward, together." The crowd applauds as Bradley sits down. There's a collective sense of relief and excitement. People feel not only heard but empowered. Eli knows this meeting is only the beginning. Words mean little without action, and he's prepared to follow through with every initiative they've introduced. Eli then unveils the next phase of the company's transformation, including employee representation on the board. He's establishing regular town halls and promises that all future company decisions will be made with the input and feedback of every level of staff. He shares that the company will be setting up more resources for mental health support, expanding family leave, and creating a scholarship fund for employees and their children. To those of you who have been here for years, quietly giving your all, thank you. And to those of you who are just joining us, welcome. We're building something here that I hope you'll be proud to be a part of. Together we can create a workplace that values people over profits, a place where you can not only work but also thrive. As he finishes, the room fills with applause. Tears stream down Carmen's face, and Eli spots Rob wiping his eyes too. Lila is standing alongside her colleagues, clapping and cheering. It's an emotional moment for everyone, a turning point in the history of the company. After the meeting, Eli walks through the crowd, shaking hands and speaking with his employees one-on-one. He's no longer just their CEO. He's someone who has walked a mile in their shoes, who understands their challenges and appreciates their sacrifices. And he feels honored to work alongside each and every one of them. Eli looks back at the conference room one last time before heading back to his office. He's filled with a profound sense of purpose. The past months have shown him that leadership is about more than decision-making. It's about connecting with people, understanding their lives, and making choices that reflect those values. The journey ahead is long, and there will be more challenges, but he feels ready to face them, knowing he has the support and trust of his entire company. Part 10. A legacy of change months have passed since Eli's transformative meeting with his employees, and the atmosphere within the company has shifted significantly. Gone are the days of silence and unacknowledged struggles. In their place, a culture of openness, respect, and collaboration has blossomed. The initiatives Eli and his team implemented have begun to bear fruit, and the benefits are palpable. As Eli walks through the office, he can't help but notice the small changes that have taken root. The break rooms, once quiet and sterile, are now vibrant hubs of conversation and camaraderie. Employees from different departments regularly gather to share ideas, collaborate on projects, and, most importantly, build friendships. Laughter echoes through the halls, a sound that Eli realizes had been absent for far too long. Eli's office is now filled with notes from employees, thanking him for the changes they've witnessed. They share stories of feeling valued for the first time in years. Carmen has written a heartfelt letter expressing how the scholarship fund has enabled her daughter to pursue her dreams of becoming a nurse. Rob has shared how the mental health resources have helped him cope with the stress of juggling work and family responsibilities. These letters serve as constant reminders of the real impact they're making. One afternoon, Eli gathers his executive team for their quarterly meeting. He sits at the head of the table, flanked by Bradley, who has become an invaluable ally in their mission for change. I want to take a moment to reflect on how far we've come, Eli begins, his voice steady but filled with emotion. The stories we've shared and the changes we've made are only the beginning. We have an obligation to keep this momentum going and continue creating a workplace where everyone feels they belong. The executives nod, and Eli can sense their commitment to the mission. He reviews the company's recent survey results, which indicate a marked increase in employee satisfaction. More employees are engaging with leadership, offering feedback, and participating in initiatives. The turnover rate has dropped dramatically, and for the first time in years, the company is attracting top talent. As Eli speaks, he can see the glimmer of hope and excitement in their eyes. But we can't stop here. It's time to take our commitment to diversity and inclusion to the next level. I propose we partner with local organizations to create mentorship programs for underrepresented groups in our community. Let's open our doors wider and ensure we're not only hiring diverse talent, but also nurturing it. Bradley chimes in, I completely agree. It's our responsibility to not only lead, but also to uplift others. By providing mentorship, we can help bridge the gap for aspiring professionals who might not otherwise have access to opportunities. The team discusses potential partnerships and outlines a plan to roll out the mentorship program within the next quarter. Eli feels a surge of pride as he watches his executives come together, motivated by a shared vision for the future. In the months that follow, the mentorship program launches successfully. Eli witnesses the impact it has on both the mentors and mentees. The program creates connections that span across different levels of the organization, fostering a sense of community and support. Eli attends mentorship events where he observes the genuine excitement in both groups, mentees eager to learn and mentors proud to share their knowledge. One day, Eli finds himself speaking to a group of mentees at a company-sponsored event. He shares his story, including his journey from a janitor to a CEO. He emphasizes the importance of resilience, community, and believing in one's potential. As he speaks, he sees their faces light up. They're not just listening, they're absorbing the lessons he's sharing. This is what leadership looks like, he concludes. It's about paving the way for others and ensuring that no one feels they have to navigate their journey alone. You are all the future of this company, and I believe in each and every one of you. After the event, several mentees approach Eli, expressing their gratitude. One young woman, an aspiring software engineer, shares how his story has inspired her to pursue her dreams with renewed vigor. Thank you for showing us that anything is possible, she says, her eyes shining with determination. Eli smiles, feeling a sense of fulfillment wash over him. This is what he envisioned when he took on the role of CEO, to inspire change, to empower others, and to create a legacy that transcends the walls of the company. As the year comes to a close, Eli reflects on the incredible journey the company has taken. The culture has shifted profoundly. Employees are more engaged, empowered, and happy. He hosts an end-of-year celebration to honor the hard work and dedication of his employees. As he stands on stage, he feels a sense of gratitude for everyone who has contributed to this transformation. I want to thank each and every one of you for your courage, your resilience, and your commitment to making this a better place for all of us. He begins, his voice steady. This year has shown us that together, we can achieve great things. You are the heartbeat of this company, and I'm incredibly proud of what we've accomplished together. The applause is thunderous, echoing through the venue. Eli looks out at the faces of his employees, faces filled with hope, determination, and a sense of belonging. In that moment, he knows they are just getting started. As the celebration winds down, Eli takes a moment to step outside for some fresh air. The night sky is clear, and the stars shine brightly overhead. He feels a sense of peace wash over him. This is what true leadership is about: building connections, empowering others, and creating a community that thrives together. He pulls out his phone to look at the messages he has received throughout the year. A new one pops up from Carmen. Thank you for believing in us. You've changed our lives. He smiles, knowing that the journey is far from over. As he heads back inside, Eli is filled with hope for what the future holds. Together with his team, they will continue to break barriers, uplift one another, and create a legacy of change that will last for generations to come.